we have Taylor Hendricks of UCF on the docket today. He is a freshman forward. He will be 19.6 years old on draft night. He is listed at 6'9", 210 pounds. Did not find a reported wingspan for him at the moment. He is playing 34 minutes a game, averaging 15.6 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, 1.4 assists to 1.4 turnovers, 0.9 steals, 1.7 blocks, while shooting 49% from the field, 41% from the three-point line, 79.6% from the free throw line, true shooting percentage of 60.6, PER 23.7, box score plus minus of 8.6. You are going to quite enjoy what Taylor Hendricks brings to the table. This is a guy who it's very easy to see that is a very pretty jump shot. He's got a high release, he's tall, it's smooth, it's repeatable, there's good follow through. Like, this is something that you're like, okay, this works at the NBA level, right? And that's why he's so intriguing, why he's getting lottery buzz, because when we get into some of the defensive stuff later on, you look at a guy who's a 3-and-D archetype, and it's easy to see the translation and how seamlessly he would fit on, a ton of different rosters.
Yeah, Corey, I love everything that you said. He's gigantic. And the thing is, sometimes when you get these giant guys who can shoot, their jumpers kind of look like catapults, but his just looks very fluid and tight and beautiful and repeatable, and it's good. And my notes were like really complex. I wrote shooting looks pretty as hell.
Yeah.
I really went deep there. And I was like, dude, it just looks freaking good. And it made me happy to watch. And look at his jumper right here. Bam.
Yeah, it's pure.
It's pure, it's quick, it looks really good. And once again, like, he's huge. I don't know what his wingspan is going to come out to be, but it looks pretty damn long. But once again, like, a lot of times these guys who have like super long arms, it looks weird, but just look at it's compact, it looks pretty, and I really like it a lot. Now, when we start talking about like the diversity of the shots that he's taken, I do think his shooting looks prettiest off the catch, is what I'd say. And we'll get into the other, types of shots that he's taken, but just straight up from the clips that you're showing us here, from what I saw on tape, the catch and shoot shooting is really nice. And that's going to be important considering, as a rookie, these are the most likely going to be the types of shots that he's going to be getting and is going to be asked to make. So here's another example, pick and pop. Look at this one. Bang. Beautiful.
Yeah. There's no hesitation. It's quick release, right? My one thing with him as like a pick and pop guy, the shot, I'm not worried at all. And this is just a more general thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a good screener. And when I say that, it's just like, he just doesn't do it. Like, it's just not for him. Like, he will ghost the screen. He will slip a screen. If he makes any contact with a player on the opposing team, it's just by accident. Like, he's just standing in the way. So, I do wish that part of his game was a little bit more refined, especially because we're saying, like, he is going to be a pick and pop guy early on, simple catch, shoot off of that. And I think, guards are so dynamic in the NBA that, like, is it going to be the biggest of deals? No. But at the same time, every split second matters in the league. And, I think if you could give your guard just a little bit more space, I value that. Is it a deal breaker? No, I think it could be taught. Is it always learned? No. But, that's kind of my one thing with his, pick and pop ability is that, it's more of just a pop.
No, Corey, I think I really agree with what you just said. And it's something that I heard discussed on the Bill Simmons pod with Rob Mahoney. And he was talking about the effect that Jakob Poeltl has had on the Raptors, right? And before he got there, it was mostly just, Scotty Barnes and Siakam and Boucher. And these guys are not, they're not really known for their screen setting. But they bring Poeltl in there, and this guy's a huge guy who is a really good screen setter, and he's really enabled Fred VanVleet to get better looks. And you're talking about these split second seconds are getting added on to the ball handlers having a little bit more space, a little bit more wiggle room, and it does mean a lot. But Corey, I did want to follow up with what you're saying and say that the lack of physicality from Hendricks shows in the screen setting, but also in different areas of his game as well, which I
Mhm.
know we're going to get into. But yeah, just going back to the shooting, I'm with you. I really like it a lot. But we'll see more. Yeah. So off the dribble, though, Corey, I wanted to get your thoughts
Yeah.
because I think it's a mixed bag. I personally thought that so when he's shooting off the catch, I feel like he does a really good job of engaging the core and engaging the lower half. But I felt like off the dribble at times, it was a little raw to say the least. I think at times like his footwork is nowhere near the same when he's shooting it off the dribble, and a lot of times like I think he just doesn't have that same lower half strength, and he can short arm a lot of shots. But wanted to get your thoughts on that because it does look pretty different in my opinion.
Yeah, because he's got a very narrow base and shooting. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, so
Yes.
there isn't a ton of like core or lower body
Hmm.
strength there. This is something I do want to point out about him as an offensive player. When he catches the ball on a triple threat and he faces up, he does it in a goofy stance. Like most righties are going to use their left foot as their pivot foot, and that's going to put you in a more natural position to shoot it. It's going to put you in a more natural position to attack going to your strong hand. He prefers, and Evan Mobley did this a lot, and I think it's to at least Taylor Hendricks' detriment. Like I think he'd be better if he cleaned it up. He prefers to use that right foot as a pivot, and it could look funky. But when we talk about him, as a creator who is doing more, kind of like off the bounce, it looks, he's shooting, I think, per synergy like 30% off the bounce.
Yeah.
So it's clearly very much a work in progress. And for me, like I'm not really a buyer in his self-creation ability.
Yes.
And I've heard people throw around like I think he could be a wing or a three, and like I don't see that. I don't know if NBA teams are going to see that. I know certain teams aren't going to see that. And to me, he's very like much so like almost like a pure four, because he also kind of lacks strength, and not in his upper body, but in his lower half. That I don't know if he's
Yes.
strong enough to play the five, at least not for like in more traditional lineups, maybe in some small ball lineups, sure, but it's very rudimentary. His ball handling is very rudimentary, and
Yes.
it makes it, even though like he can get shots off because he's tall and he has a high release, his handle is very sloppy. My thing is, I think I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get his handle to a point with where it's at currently, where he's going to be able to create at the next level, and where teams are going to be like, we want you to do this. This is worth investing these reps in.
Mm. Corey, I think I'll say this. I think the tricky thing with him is that I think a lot of NBA teams are going to invest in the exact thing that you're talking about. I think a lot of teams are going to look at the shooting. I think they're going to look at his like functional athleticism and be like, oh, okay, so we have him in the building. Now we can groom him into a wing. I hope that's not the case, right? But I feel like there would be a lot of NBA teams that might have that thought process, because I mean there are other examples of this in the league, right? But my biggest thing with him, just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, I mean, even like, so now that teams have a scouting report on him, they know that he can shoot. They close up pretty hard on him. And when they do, he'll do a little head fake and take like one dribble or two dribble or whatever. And it's generally sloppy. I think sloppy. What I wrote in my notes was clunky. Even when he takes it all the way to the rim, a lot of that stuff, like he's getting stripped all the time. And if he's not getting stripped, and even if there's like the slightest swipe, he's losing the ball. Physically, as you mentioned, right, he is lacking a lot of strength. So he's not great at taking contact nor finishing through contact. I can't even remember off the top of my head him having like a really nice finish through contact. But just overall, like I think I'm with you. Like the creation stuff is not there at all right now. I mean, when we even talk about like a guy like Jarris Walker, when we did him before the season, just looking off his high school stuff, he had real shake to him. The handle was tight. He could do stuff with the ball in his hands. Taylor Hendricks is just not that guy. He doesn't have that anywhere near even Jarris Walker, in my opinion. So I'm kind of with you. And even in the comp that I picked for him was a guy who's more of a four, but even for him to reach that guy, he's going to need to tighten his handle by a lot. is what I'd say. So I'm definitely with you.
Yeah, for sure. The handle, and it's not only is the handle loose, and like in this clip we see he's just kind of like he dribbles into his teammate or whatever, but like he also doesn't necessarily, like, it's not his game. You could tell he's not used to doing that, and so he doesn't necessarily even have the recognition of like spacing on the court. Like in this clip he's literally just dribbling into like a sea of blue jerseys, like right into the help. He doesn't have like the natural fluidity off the bounce. He doesn't have like shake. Like he tries to do a little crossover and there's just, guys beat him to the spot. They collapse on him and he doesn't really know what to do when he gets himself in trouble. So it looks weird. So like there's going to be more room in the NBA on the court, and that will help. But I think just overall, when I'm looking at him as a creator, I just think fundamentally he is at such a basic beginner level, like that it's hard to imagine this is something that is a part of his game for a while. Like this is where he could create a little bit, bang, smooth, like nothing to it. You could just shoot over people. You're tall. You have a smooth shot. There's nothing to think about. Create space, face up, look him in the eyes, bang.
This clip that you're playing here is actually pretty freaking, like, this looks pretty damn good, but
it's simple.
Exactly.
When he keeps things simple, keep it simple, stupid, it looks fluid. And again, he's faced up, goofy footed, uses that left foot to jab. But it's 2 dribbles and a shot. And like, that's his bread and butter. His bread and butter is just keeping the game as basic as possible, because when he does that, it's fluid. And he has physical tools that allow him the benefit to do that.
Yeah.
Like not everybody has that to them where they could do that, but he does. I also think that he's got good touch on these little like fadeaways, but again, it's simple. It's on the block. He's not trying to overpower anybody. He gets position, one dribble
on this one,
and just a clean look. And I like that. I love when he keeps it simple. I love it. It's really nice. And you understand why he could fit into an NBA offense, who it's like, all right, you're playing off of, different guys like who are actual number one options making hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't need you to create. You're not at UCF anymore. So how can you contribute in a really simplistic way, but a really valuable way? And it's little stuff like this, taking advantage, little mismatches, that little turn over the right shoulder, little fadeaway jump shot using your height and your length and your touch.